The brain and mental illness. Mental illness is something that people often don't talk about. It can be hard to understand why someone might be feeling down, or why they might act more differently than usual. But it's important to remember that everyone is different and that we all have different ways of coping with things. The cause of mental illness can be social. These causes include long-term stress, being in debt, losing a loved one, or suffering abuse, neglect, or isolation. The environment in which someone lives can also lead to poor mental health. Examples include drug or alcohol addiction, or trauma following an accident, military service, or witnessing a crime. Physical causes can be due to a head injury after a fall or seizure. Finally, genetics can also play a role in poor mental health. Despite most causes being external, with the exception of genetics, mental illness is often linked with the brain. This is because there are changes in the brains of people who have mental illnesses. However, it is important to remember that not everyone who has a change in their brain will have a mental illness, and not everyone who has a mental illness will have a change in their brain. It is worth pointing out that not all diseases that affect the brain are mental health diseases. These include dementia, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, and multiple sclerosis. The brain is the most complicated organ in the body. It is made up of grey matter, which is actually millions of cells called neurons. These neurons link with the nerves in the body, receiving messages. These messages are sent from one nerve cell to another via synapses. These synapses are actually tiny gaps between the neurons. The messages are sent electrically along the neurons, also known as nerves. When the message reaches the synapse, it is transferred chemically over the gap via neurotransmitters. This is a very simplistic explanation of a very complicated process. The reason for explaining this is because mental health diseases can affect the structure, chemistry, or function of the brain. When talking about the chemistry of the brain being altered, some mental illnesses are the result of glitches with how the neurons communicate. The brain is closely linked with mental health, as these illnesses can cause chemical and structural changes in the brain. The good news is that many mental health illnesses can be treated with medication and behaviour therapies. Thanks for watching.